Good morning. We're calling this meeting to order. This is Amador County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you. I think first matters, Supervisor Crew is looking to attend by Zoom this morning because he has a health issue he's been dealing with. And so at this point, I think we need to have a vote to allow Mr. Crew to participate by Zoom.
I'll make a motion then to permit Supervisor Crew to attend and vote in the meeting by Zoom.
Second.
We have a motion by Axe and a second by Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
I think we have to do a roll call, don't we, with Pat included?
Yes, thank you. You're correct.
Thank you, Chairman Oneto.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Crew.
Aye.
Supervisor Axe.
Aye.
Supervisor Forster.
Aye.
And Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous, and thank you for the reminder, Supervisor Axe.
No problem.
The board met in closed session this morning. Items we met on were item number 1, conference of labor negotiators. There was nothing to report. Item 2, this was a national prescription opiate litigation. Direction was given. Item 3, this is the claim of Brandon McLean. Claim was denied, and confidential minutes were approved. And that was a closed session this morning. Moving on, we have public matters not on the agenda. Is there any members of the public that would like to address the board on any item not on our agenda? Looks like no Zoomers. Moving down, looking for approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Axe, second by Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Thank you, Chairman Oneto.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Crew.
Aye.
Supervisor Axe.
Aye.
Supervisor Forster.
Aye.
Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
That carries unanimous. At this time, we're going to move down to consent agenda, and we're going to pull item 7E. This is the pickleball court engineering. It's have some made it part of a regular meeting, have some discussion on that. So looking for approval of the consent agenda with item 7E pulled.
Move approval with 7E to be moved to the regular agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Thank you, Chairman Oneto.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Crew.
Aye.
Supervisor Axe.
Aye.
Supervisor Forster.
Aye.
And Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Okay, looks like it carries unanimous. You know, I think we're waiting for our General Services Director to come to address item 7E, which has been pulled, so we'll have that item as soon as John Hoffman gets here. So we'll go ahead and start our regular agenda at this time. Item 5A is a presentation providing an update of recent planned activities of the Amador Resource Conservation District, Amador Fire Safe Council, and the Natural Resource Conservation Services. And we have Amanda here to give us looks like a PowerPoint.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Thank you all so much for having me and allowing me to give you an update of some of the recent work and some of our planned activities. My name is Amanda Watson. I work as the Executive Director of the Amador Resource Conservation District. I'm also the coordinator of the Amador Fire Safe Council, and we'll go over, I'll go over some of those connections and partnerships in the county as we work to address natural resource concerns, working with private and public landowners and managers. Next slide. So today I'm going to be talking about 3 organizations that work very closely together and all work towards coordinated natural resource management in Amador County. The first is Amador Resource Conservation District. We're a local special district of the government. Our board is a 5-member board appointed by the Board of Supervisors. And I'm the executive director, Amanda Watson. And then we have the Amador Fire Safe Council, who's a nonprofit. We have a 7 to 9 member board that's a volunteer board of directors. And I work as the coordinator of that organization as well. And then we also have the Natural Resource Conservation Service. They're a government agency of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They're federally funded through the Farm Bill. They also do have some additional funding, like from the Inflation Reduction Act, but primarily through the Farm Bill, they're funded. And their organizational lead locally is a district conservationist, Jennifer Wood. Unfortunately, she had some, she was called away today and could not attend, so I'll be giving some information about the NRCS. But these 3 organizations work very closely together to coordinate our staffing, our priorities, to be able to offer to Amador County's residents and land managers, assistance towards doing work on, doing work on the ground. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Maybe stay a little closer, maybe?
Sorry?
Closer to the mic, maybe, might help.
Maybe too close, okay.
No, a little closer.
Little closer?
Yeah.
Okay. Next slide.
No, we turned it down because we were getting that ring.
Yeah, I was getting some
Yeah.
kind of feedback.
You're fine.
Okay.
You're registering, so.
Perfect. Oh, wow. So the font is not great, did not transfer over well, but I'll walk through this a little bit. So basically, what I wanted to highlight here is how these 3 organizations work together and why we work together. We all share an office in the General Services Building in the Ag Building out on Airport Road, and the Amador Fire Safe Council and the Amador RCD share staff as well. We share many of the same highlights in our missions to serve the residents and the land managers in Amador County to help them be stewards of their land for fire resiliency, as well as ag productivity and a variety of resource goals that are dictated by the landowner, and we support that through education, technical assistance, and also funding to be able to provide those land managers plans for moving forward with implementation, as well as funding. We also provide education and community development, notably through the Fire Safe Council's FireWise community development, but also through other planning, being the lead for planning programs such as the evacuation committee that the Fire Safe Council spearheaded several years ago. Next slide. There we go. So I wanted to start, because I'm talking about 3 organizations, I really wanted to just give some highlights of these 3 organizations. What are our programs? And then the next slide will talk about some breakdowns in how our funding works and the value and benefits that our organizations bring to Amador County. So the Amador County's work can be pretty much segmented into 3 main categories. We have the Working Lands Assistance Program, the Landscape Scale Forest Health, and then we have a Fire Resiliency Program. And so a lot of our work is getting work done on the ground and then educating the land managers on how they can do that work. And then either we're doing the work or we are finding financial assistance for landowners to do the work themselves. So those are the main categories of how we actually get work done in Amador County. Through the Working Lands Assistance Program, we have a staff member, a full-time staff member that provides technical assistance to agriculturalists in Amador and actually also in Calaveras and Alpine County. This person has worked with landowners to apply for the Healthy Soils Program, which is a state run by the CDFA, California Department of Agriculture. And this actually, our one staff person that works with landowners, helps them apply, helps them develop a plan. That one staff person over the last 3 years has been able to help bring in $674,000 to treat 6,990 acres. So what I'm trying to get across with those statistics there, with that data, is that bringing in one technical assistance provider is able to then support these agricultural landowners to bring in state money into the county and into our region. So that's the value that we see with the technical assistance providers, is that they can help provide the education, help provide planning assistance, and then actually access those resources to get those plans, parts of those plans or the plans as a whole implemented.
Amanda, this is,
Yes.
in your handout, this is the small landowner forest health technical assistance, is that correct?
So this, in the handout for the Resource Conservation District, this is actually the Healthy Soils Technical Assistance on Working Lands. So we have on the fire resilience side, we have a technical assistance provider as well, and she does something very similar. She works very closely with the NRCS, the Natural Resource Conservation Service. So she works with landowners to provide resources and technical assistance on forested lands, and she just got started putting in her first applications. I don't have the exact numbers yet, unfortunately, just due to timing, but every one of the applications she developed has been funded and is in the process of being obligated. So that's at least, I think it's 7 applicants in Amador County that just in the last year will now be funded to do forest health and fire mitigation projects on their ground through federal funding, through the NRCS.
Back on the Healthy Soils Technical Assistance on Working Lands, why did we work on a grant application that was awarded to Placer RCD?
That's a great question. So I am the lead for the Natural and Working Lands Hub in Amador, Calaveras, Alpine County. We were awarded funding for that. And when developing the regional projects, we looked at all of our partners, and Placer in the Central Sierra we felt Placer RCD was the strongest applicant to be the fiscal sponsor and administrative lead of that project, because that is a $3.4 million project that the majority of that, we got about $94,000 in Amador County to provide technical assistance, but the majority of that goes directly to landowners. So it's actually a very large lift to be able to write contracts for all those small landowners, to come up with all of the applications, all of the background administrative work. And Placer RCD was more prepared to be able to do that work on the administrative side. So it was a joint effort. We all worked together to develop that application, and we identified that Placer would be the best fit for the administrative lead of it. But it benefits Amador County pretty much the same. Because it's housed in Placer, it doesn't give Placer RCD or Placer County residents any leg up in getting that funding.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that is something that we are working on. On my next slide, I'll mention the regional funding. We've applied for regional funding to the tune of $13.5 million is now available to the Central Sierra region through our partnerships with other RCDs. So that means that not all of that $13 million will come into Amador County, but what we're seeing as far as funding goes on a state level and a federal level, that having regional and landscape scale approaches to programs is what's getting funded. And so developing these partnerships across the region helps us bring in more money that then is available or potentially available to Amador County residents. And so those 7 applicants that our Forest Tech received funding for and helped plan with, that comes out of that $13.5 million. And that's going to be not just awarded this 1 year. That 13.5 million is going to extend for the next couple of years and be available over time for resource managers, land managers to take advantage of. And that's why it's so important for the Natural Resource Conservation District and the Amador RCD to have that technical assistance staff, because they are pretty much the gateway to this funding. It's not an easy process necessarily. It's not something that most people, know how to spend all the time to apply for that funding, know exactly what they need. So those technical assistance providers are a key and essential link to finding that funding, identifying what the funding is, what are the steps, and helping those people apply for good work to get done. So I wanted to, I'm so sorry this font didn't work out very well. It's really hard to read. But our current amount of grants that we've received, so this is a snapshot in time, is $8 million for the Amador RCD. And I know that seems like a lot, and it is. It's a great amount of money. We're really proud to be able to bring this much money into Amador County. And that's one thing I really want to emphasize, that this money's in Amador County and going to be spent in Amador County on doing, for the most part, implementation work. So this $8 million is over an 8-year time frame. So it's not necessarily, something we spend in 2 years. This is to do landscape scale forest health work. So this is the Jackson Creek project, the Mitchell Mine maintenance project. We also have the Natural and Working Lands program and the Fire Resiliency program. So the Fire Resiliency program is, if you've heard about the chipping project that the Amador RC does, providing chipping to landowners to help them deal with the vegetation from doing defensible space or other landscape scale clearing, as well as we got awarded for the defensible space for our vulnerable communities. So that should be starting up in the next year or so. And then the Natural Working Lands is, we have habitat. We're starting a wildlife and pollinator habitat program to help working lands provide resources to help with wildlife structures as well as pollinator habitat plantings. And that also includes technical assistance in there as well. As far as our percentage of funding, 58% of the Amador RCD money goes pretty much directly to contractors to get work done on the ground. We try our best to implement with local contractors and keep, our goal is to strengthen Amador County, both in fire prevention, in landscape health, but we want to holistically look at Amador County, and that workforce development and economic growth of Amador County is huge for our agricultural community and our residents as well. So we do really try to look at it holistically and work with local partners and local contractors when possible. The technical assistance goes straight to staff to provide technical assistance over that 8-year period. And the non-groundwork is what that's supposed to read, is 23%. So that includes administration, overhead, as well as planning projects, planning programs. So it's not only overhead, but that is actually all of the planning that we do to do regional programs, anything like education and outreach. So that 23%, I think, is I think a lot of organizations you look at, and 23% is just their overhead to pay for, keeping the lights on. Our 23% includes that, as well as a bunch of robust programming that supports education and outreach, as well as the natural and working lands planning and program development. Next slide. These are out of order, I think. There should be an RCD, or Amador RCD. So that the Amador Fire Safe Council, like I said, is a nonprofit. All of our staff for the Amador Fire Safe Council and Amador RCD, for the most part, work together. So we have 7 staff people, 6 of them are full-time, and can you go back up to the one with the 3 blue boxes? Thank you. And the majority of those staff actually work for the Fire Safe Council and the RCD. So administratively and staff-wise, we do a lot of work pretty lean with the amount of staff that we have. We are hoping to staff up to provide mostly technical assistance and project management resources to support these robust programs. But one of the strong partnerships we have is that the Amador RCD provides staffing to the Amador Fire Safe Council. The Amador Fire Safe Council, I think as you heard in previous reports the last couple meetings ago, we have the ingress and egress programs. We've treated 73.6 miles of county roads through that and about 12.5 miles of private roads. This funding ends in March of next year.
It's been a tremendous help to the county too, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Really glad to hear that. One of the things I do want to mention is we're completely grant funded for the Amador Fire Safe Council and the RCD. And so in March, when this funding ends, we won't have assistance to do that ingress and egress project any longer. So I would love to have the opportunity to talk to county staff or however that might be facilitated to see what the next steps are to move forward with ingress and egress, because as we all know, it's critically important and all that vegetation does grow back. And so continuing how to develop a plan for future management of that and how we can assist in that is definitely a priority. We also use that as an opportunity to work with private property owners and private communities along private roads to help them get engaged, and it really does seem to act as a catalyst to help communities develop good fire evacuation and planning. We, at the Fire Safe Council, we also do fuel break development. I'm not gonna go into all the details because we have a lot of projects. We have 7 fuel breaks in development or planning, in the planning phases right now, and those should be in that packet of paper in the board packet. But we work with communities and our federal partners and CAL FIRE to develop those projects in strategic locations that would protect structures, would protect homes, protect people, and our communities in the event of a wildfire. So we've treated 863 acres for fuel reduction, and like I said, we have 7 fuel breaks in planning process. We also have the education and outreach coordination as an arm of our work. We've currently worked with 35 Firewise communities. These Firewise communities we see as an important nexus to getting work done on private property and the education of it can be a real challenge for us to go into communities and try to share this information. There's a lot of skepticism, so having a lead and these communities developed is a streamlined way for us to provide information to these communities. We have trusted partners in these communities, so moving projects forward is one of the true benefits of the Firewise community. And we hope that we can help develop durable partnerships in these communities, so these are long-standing organizations that through time can really start to build support in these rural communities. We're also working on getting funding to develop a community wildfire protection plan. So you'll hear a lot more from me in the future once that funding is awarded. We're still waiting to hear, but that is something that we desperately need in Amador County. The last one is quite old, and we're kind of at the precipice of that blocking us out from certain funding that's available. So that's something we definitely would like to address here in Amador County to make sure we can move forward with that. As far as Amador Fire Safe Council funding, we have, as I mentioned, community fuel breaks, ingress and egress, forest health fuel breaks. And that's basically the forest health fuel breaks. Those are usually on federal property, and that's why that's delineated like that. The community fuel breaks may have some federal ground on it, but for the most part are on private properties. So as you can see, most of our work is on the ground. We have 58% of completed groundwork, so our funding that's already been expended. 22% is groundwork that will be happening in the next year and a half. And then 20% is non-ground work. So same as the Fire Safe Council, all of our outreach and education, all of our planning development, program development, all of that is in that 20%. When I say groundwork, I mean that's literally money going to a contractor to do groundwork. That doesn't include the registered professional forester. It doesn't include the surveys that need to be done. All of that's in.
I was curious about that, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of prep work getting ready to do what you're calling the groundwork.
I wanted to be clear on that, when I did the calculations for the groundwork, that is literally money going to a contractor to do work on the ground. Everything else is considered non-groundwork. So we really operate on great margins, I think, when it comes to implementation and what we can get done. I'm pretty proud of those numbers, I'm not gonna lie.
No, I think, Amanda, you've done a very, very good job, and I think also you have a extremely competent board that's probably helped you help them and vice versa, so.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Next slide.
I should say boards.
Boards, 2 boards that all volunteer their time. And I agree with you. The boards of our organization are incredibly critical to making sure that we're moving in this direction and supporting our communities. Because we have a mission for fire resiliency and best management practices and land management between our organizations, but we also look, like I said, holistically at our county. And none of that is left, when we're looking at it, none of that is left behind. We want to build a stronger Amador County. I wanted to mention NRCS, because they are one of our really close partners. We work with them in the office every day. They have currently 5 staff and 3 affiliates, which is the largest staff that they've ever had, that I can recollect, but at least in the last 8 years. In that time period from 2019, they've gone from having 5 staff to having 1 staff, to not having leadership in their office, but they've still been able to bring money in. But the big thing I want to get across with this is that the amount of money that we can bring into Amador County is a function of staffing. Similar to technical assistance, when we don't have that technical assistance at the RCD or the NRCS, there's no catalyst to get the landowners in the door to apply for funding. So that's the big thing that I want to push here, is that our staff is huge to getting money in the door into our county. In the last, 8 years, they've brought in $1.98 million obligated to land managers. So again, that does not include their time at all. That is money paid directly to landowners in Amador County to do forest health or agricultural best management practices. That's over 20,475 acres and 47 clients. So NRCS is a federal organization funded by the Farm Bill, and it is a great source of funding into Amador for resource management projects in Amador County. So supporting NRCS and helping, make sure that we build that relationship and support their staff, which the Amador RCD does through an affiliate, helps us bring that money into the county.
So what's a client in this case?
A client is a land manager, usually a landowner.
Okay,
So, yeah.
that corresponds to certain size of property, or?
So typically, an NRCS project would be on something larger than 50 or so acres. We did want some of that funding that we brought in that the Amador RCD assisted with the application on, that about 10 million of that funding, that regional funding, is actually meant for smaller landowners for forest health projects. So it's the second, in total, we've brought about 20 million in the last 6 years for regional management, or sorry, forest management on a regional scale, and that's for smaller property owners. But it's a challenge we're still working out the challenges of smaller property owners, because it's a challenge because you still have to do the same amount of paperwork, whether it's 2 acres or 400. And it's harder to rank. There's a lot of things that go into the NRCS, and that's why you need that technical assistance provider to have those conversations and walk landowners through. But I will say that I think the smallest property that's been awarded, I think, is 5 acres in Amador County, but that's just off the cuff from what I can think, what I can recall.
You know, one thing too, I would see, Amanda, even beyond the work you're doing, I think sometimes it gets people to realize, hey, you know, what are they doing and why? Oh, it's for fire safety. And it gives them a little boost maybe to even do some of their own projects on parcels.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if nobody does nothing, it doesn't matter, but you see people working hard, and why are they doing that? I think that helps.
Great, yeah. That's the end of my presentation. I have Bradley, who's the engineer at the NRCS office, if you have any NRCS-specific questions. I also have a couple board members from their respective boards, if you have any questions. But thank you so much for your time. I hope that was helpful, just to give you an idea of the resources that we're bringing into the county.
I have one point. This is great. I mean, it's so much really awesome work being done. And the amount of money that you've been able to get, and the 3 organizations working together creates a lot of synergy. So great work. I have one area, but I see on the Amador Resource Conservation District, you have a pollinator habitat project. I don't know what that entails exactly, but I will tell you a problem that's come up with several people in my area that have said the bees have come into where they have a water trough for either goats or for horses or cattle, and the bees have just come in. And I understand we need bees, and I'm not denigrating bees, but these people, actually, the animals can't even get up to drink because there's so many bees coming in. So whenever hives are located, that needs to be taken into account, that there's a water source nearby so the bees don't have to travel to neighboring properties, which are pretty much right next to homes. And it's happened on where I live on Sutter Island Road, but actually out in Carbondale too. I got a question from a person who said, I have a trough for my horses, and the horses can't even get up there because the bees are on the water all the time.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I don't have a solution at this point. I mean, I have.
You're right. I'm just
But
pointing it out.
I will say that usually the pollinator habitats that we're building are species specific to native pollinators and monarchs, butterflies, bats, and bees, of course, too. But the honeybee usually, I don't know if these are.
Well, it's an ag issue, so you can take it back to the NRCS or the Resource Conservation District, just so your people are aware the bees are necessary for production.
For sure.
I have a crepe myrtle tree right next to my pool, and it is loaded with bees every morning.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they're not going to the pool, but first thing in the morning, they're not thirsty. But it's just something I think needs to be in the back of people's minds when they're locating hives, which are necessary, that there needs to be a water source, especially when it's warm.
That's a great point. Thank you.
You know, it might be a benefit for the livestock owner to kind of create like a small, you know, water area for the bees, because like the bees all land in my fountain up on this pan on the top, and they don't drink out of the main part, but other animals come and drink out of that, especially when it gets really hot.
Yeah.
But the bees, the hummingbirds all drink from this upper pan that the water gets pumped to and it kind of drizzles down. I did have a question, you know, on the funding for ingress and egress and just funding in general, but, you know, is the insurance industry willing to contribute anything to this? I mean, they're probably the biggest beneficiary of all this work, and, you know, they're receiving premiums for this, you know, that they raised, and there's probably good reasons for that too, but still, it might be good to kind of have a, you know, some kind of benefit return to the area, kind of a rebate, so to speak, if, you know, for us doing this work, but, you know, not money necessarily back into people's pockets, but money to help fund this, you know, because we're going to need a regular ongoing source of funding.
Yeah, and I think identifying that regular ongoing source of funding is key. I think with the insurance companies, the Firewise communities, they do get a discount if they, you know, residents can get a discount in that way. I think, you know, as far as asking for funding from the insurance companies, I haven't seen anything huge from there. And I think we're even struggling with getting these actual fuel breaks on the ground being registered and recognized from insurance companies as a benefit to these landowners. We're even kind of a step back from getting funding, but
Yeah.
actually getting these projects and the reality on the ground
Well, the Pine Acres
represented.
fuel break has worked twice. Okay, saved countless homes and a lot of money.
Yeah, I think there's a
had
lot
to
of
pay out.
advocacy that we can do on that end with the insurance commissioner and a lot of those companies to do education, but it's a huge lift, but it's really.
Oh, I realize that. That's
Yeah.
not something they probably want to do right now, is give money out, but this is to their benefit too.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, they're in it as well as us. And it's not just Amador applying for it, but all of these organizations like yourself should
Yeah.
be approaching them about this. We need to work together.
Well, no, I think it was a very good presentation. I think the work that the groups are doing are critical to the county. I mean, it's, you know, we've seen what's happened to other surrounding areas, and, you know, you end up a county just wiped out, like up in, you know, the Campfire is just Grizzly Flat, I mean, parts of Calaveras, and it's, you know, it's, what's saying that we're so special we're exempt? Nothing. I mean, yeah, we probably get the Delta breeze helps, but, well, all cards aligned, we could be there, and I think, the work that you're doing is just, and the board and and contractors, it's really, very well may save our counties. Like, there's that one, when we had the, Butte Fire, Cal Fire had that one fuel break that went down in the river, and very well could have saved a big chunk of Amador County. And just sometimes those strategically placed fire breaks can really, you know, it might make the difference between waking up and saying, oh, that was a bad fire, but they got it out, or waking up saying, hey, I got no house, we got not much at all. So, yeah, appreciate what you're doing.
How
Thank you.
robust is the El Dorado County RCD? I mean, as a direct neighbor to us, seems like it'd be very beneficial to work on fire breaks, so you might even be able to prevent something like Caldor Fire from taking off.
Yeah, the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council is very active, actually. They have like 33 fire safe councils. They have a very different setup than we do. The RCD as well has been doing restoration on the Caldor Fire, and they are very active, yeah. And it's a great organization.
Talked to somebody just a couple days ago that said, I guess, what, Mark Egbert? He gets emails from him at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, wow.
And he'll
Pretty
respond.
active.
Mark's great. They've got some great leadership over there as well. And we were working on the River Pines fuel break, which we finished on our side, and we do have some remaining funding, so we are potentially looking at working with the Mount Occam group to extend that into El Dorado County. We try when we can to work across those county lines, because, you know, with the Butte Fire, working with Calaveras RCD and Fire Safe Council, the fires don't really care about those county lines. So when we're looking at strategic landscape scale solutions, we really have to kind of take down some of those boundaries and work together to do what makes sense on the
I
ground.
saw Calaveras, looks like they did quite a bit of work on their side along the
Yep.
Palmy River. I thought, it looked nice.
Yeah, the Calaveras RCD was developed, I don't know, 8 or not that long ago, just a handful of years ago. And they've really been doing a great job building up in their county and doing some fuel reduction work.
Now we need some goats.
Yeah.
Great work. Great work.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Pat? Any questions? Are you good?
Yeah, they're all to be applauded. They've done with quite a bit of money, but still, they're getting results. Unbelievable. So,
Yeah, it looks like there's a fuel break be going around Jackson too, so that'd be a good item.
yeah.
Okay, no Zoomers?
No, not at this time.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Amanda, and respective boards. We appreciate your work, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. I think at this time, John Hopkins is here, so we're gonna take, we'll call it item 5A1, and that's the item we pulled from the consent agenda, item 7E, pickleball courts. So people had some questions about the pickleball courts, John. One of the questions they had was like, they said, I guess in the preliminary or the request for engineering, it didn't address ADA, so maybe,
It's addressed in there. It all has to be ADA compliant. Any project we do has to comply with that.
okay.
Yes.
I'm thinking, let's see, is she on Zoom? Do we have any Zoomers up there?
Thank you. We do.
Specifically, Mara Feeney had questions.
We do. She's on.
Okay.
Please go ahead when ready.
Hi, yeah, I know you all know that there's quite a pickleball fever thing going on in Fiddletown, so we're pretty impatient to get the project done. Just looking at the amount of money and what's being offered, at first we thought, wow, the county found a way to get these courts replaced for $30,000. That's great, but no, it's it's just for engineering services to tell the contractors what to bid on. So we were kind of discouraged that a chunk of the budget is already going for just design work, and I've come to understand that that's necessary steps so the contractors know exactly what they're bidding on. Do we have to remove the fences or not, et cetera. But in looking at the contract, I thought it very specifically excluded ADA. I mean, look at that again. It's only 4 pages. I think it definitely excludes ADA considerations and puts it in the category of task 3 add-ons, potential add-ons. And there's no addressing. I mean, okay, the tennis court that we have in Fiddletown didn't seem to last very many years before it cracked up. So if we are getting engineers involved, why is there no consideration about compaction issues in that budget? And, you know, let's see, I know we met with a couple of supervisors back a few months ago, and at that time we had 30 players signed up for the Fiddletown Pickleball Group. There are 40 as of today. And this morning, even in spite of the heat, all 3 courts that we've tentatively marked out there are being played on. And there's a waiting list for people who want to have a clinic to learn pickleball. I have a feeling, you know, one of these days we're going to have to move to the county fairground or something. But in the meantime, we wanted to be sure that the contract, which mentions court in the singular in all these tasks, that they understand that we actually need 4 pickleball courts in Fiddletown, and we figured out how to lay them out in the existing space. So I wouldn't want the contractor under the impression that it's 1 tennis court and 1 pickleball court. We could even do that part ourselves if that saves the county money. I mean, we have our own equipment, our own nets, balls, paddles, and we're not adverse to painting out the 4 courts ourselves once the tennis court is done, if necessary.
I don't think that would be necessary, Mara. One thing I would like to address is the county did look at doing a design build, which would probably be a lot more efficient, but we were told it is a legal requirement to have engineering for a project like this, and we couldn't do a design build, which would have probably been quite a bit cheaper. So,
Yeah.
I guess we've kind of created our own, corundum, you might say.
Yeah, I understand that. And I presume there's nobody in-house at the county who could do this engineering. It seems like pretty straightforward stuff to me, but I'm not an engineer.
Well, they'd have to get versed in pickleball. Maybe there could be, but, it'd have to probably come from either Public Works or CAO, and I think they're both very busy and don't have time to be designing a pickleball court. And
Yeah.
one would be outside
Well,
their
okay,
scope of work.
Yeah, and I am worried. I mean, I've written proposals myself, and I just see lots of doors open in this bid for add-ons, things that aren't being addressed that, like preparing the bid documents, et cetera, that's an add-on. But if there's, and one of the things that they mentioned in task 3 as a potential add-on was meeting with the community to go over their plans. And, I can't believe I'm going to say don't do community input, but I really feel like because most of us are so surprised there even is a requirement for this. I don't think the documents we would review would make much sense to us, and I don't think our comments would be worth very much. But also, if there's a staff person at the county who we can liaison with at the front end, for example, one of the considerations is what color are the pickleball courts going to be. We don't want some consultant coming from Reno and charging the county travel expenses to ask us late in the game if the color they picked is the right one. I mean, if there's somebody we could just put our ideas through staff to the consultant at the front end, I think that would be more efficient.
Yeah, I don't see that being a major question. I mean, it's probably important, but that's a bridge that's very simple to cross. What color would we want it when we put out the RFP? This is what color you want our pickleball courts. I mean, it's not going to be rocket science.
Yeah.
I would say the base issue, I think, is an important issue, and that will be addressed.
So the board knows, I'll offer a little help here. When we first put this out to RFP, we asked for what we typically ask for engineering and architectural services. And when we got the cost back, the committee and I were a little surprised at the cost to some degree.
What were the costs roughly?
The least
Wasn't like around 100,000?
That was the cheapest proposal.
Yeah.
Yes. So what we decided to do is
So we had a minor heart attack.
right. I had a little more. So I did a little more looking around. I found a project that was done here just last year in Alpine County, Hans Loomis and Associates, and the model that they used was that they kicked a lot of the work, or I should say the work that was being charged, or that the architectural firm would have charged us to coordinate geotechnical services, archaeological services, biological services, any of those surveying services. Staff will handle that independently with those contracts, which does save money. So that's why those things are not listed in. I don't need the middleman to charge us to do what we can do in-house.
So basically, put it in a nutshell, what John's saying, Mara, we could have went the full government route, had everything just so pretty in a beautiful package done by consultants, and not had very much money to put towards your pickleball courts.
Correct.
I get that. It
So
does seem like the
you may
compact
not-
issue is an important one, though, because there's no point building a court that's going to be cracked up in 3 years.
No, but I'm aware of that, John's aware of that, we'll address that. You may not see quite as much, to be quite blunt, you may not see as much of the touchy-feely outreach. That doesn't mean you still can't and shouldn't talk to us with things you're looking for, because, we're talking in-house here, and it's kind of like, yeah, we can have public meetings, but we're building pickleball courts, and they need to have pickleball courts that are accessible. We don't want to spend a whole lot of money on trying to reinvent a pickleball court with having public meetings. I mean, just
Agreed.
quite forthright. We want to get something on the ground that you can actually use and enjoy, and not just spend a bunch of money for consultants.
We're with you on that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, the efforts are to put more money toward the brick and mortar than it is design services.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would have been easy to pull a trigger saying, hey, 100 and some thousand bucks, you gotta go do it, and we'll we're all happy, but the problem would be we wouldn't have much in the ground.
Well, even at 100,000 though, it also didn't include services like surveying. That was still part, or geotech, that was still costs that were gonna be borne on the county that were not a part of the original proposals. Loomis and Associate also has the shortest period of time. So I hear the meetings that we've had with the community, they're anxious to get going. And the other three proposals that we originally started with had much longer timeframes as well. So, yeah, we're doing pretty good right now. I just think that the public doesn't know, so you can always offer them my telephone number and I can talk to them at any time.
This is Supervisor Brown. We've been pushing this pretty hard for a while now. Now their push out is till November. Did they think that they actually would be done sooner? Completing the design part of the project?
Well, that's because we've now separated a lot of those services. That also is dependent on staff.
Okay.
What we can do and what somebody like a local surveyor can do for us, or a geotech. I think the biggest, I think we'll be a lot closer with Fiddletown than we will be with Pioneer, just because we have the BLM element up there and we've got to deal with the feds.
And we can't control that.
And I can't control that.
Right. No, we know that. Excuse me. But we're going to try to get all this done, be shovel ready for this next spring is what we're really shooting for.
Well, I'm hoping to, before I depart, hopefully you'll be there pretty quick.
No, I'm talking about the actual installation, the
Oh.
actual,
Yeah,
construction.
they're not gonna move dirt up there or demo in a winter, but, depends on the scope of the project too.
Right.
That'd be fitting, the John Hopkins pickleball court.
Shame on you.
We could start a rumor. We're just doing the pickleball courts because you're retired and you want to play pickleball, and that's the only reason it was done. What a rumor, huh?
So hopefully that satisfies,
That's great, I'm pickleballed out. Can we move back to the regular agenda?
Yeah. Your questions addressed, Mara?
No.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and I'm available, Jeff's available, John Hopkins available. If you have any questions, just you can reach out to us.
And John, we can bring this
Okay.
back once the design comes in and bring it out to the public as our own just public viewing of it.
yeah, one of the things I shaved out of that is the number of meetings that we typically have with a professional, and we pretty much wiped all those out.
Yeah, but we don't even need the professional. We can just bring the design straight to us and you explain it type of thing.
Can,
Okay, sounds good.
okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
John. Thank you, Mara.
You or Glenn, I should say.
So we need a vote on this?
Any public comment, additional? Yeah, at this point, we need a vote to approve going forward with the contract. And that would be item 5A1 on our regular agenda.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the design RFP that we put out.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Brown, a second by Axe. Looking for a roll call.
Thank you, Chairman Oneto,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Crew,
Aye.
Supervisor Axe,
Aye.
Supervisor Forster,
Aye.
Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Okay, carries unanimous. Thank you. Moving down, we have item 5B. This is Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Authority Tax Measure. Discussion of possible action regarding a resolution calling for an election regarding a $1 registration fee in vehicles to fund the abatement of abandoned vehicles.
Supervisors, the board directed staff and passed a resolution to put the AVA on the agenda for November, the reestablishment of the dollar fee. And with the subsequent approval of the 3/4 cent sales tax proposal that will also be on the agenda in November, the question to the board is, do you still want to put the AVA item on, or do you want to push that to a subsequent election?
Well, I think it would probably be best to push it to a future. election. I think it might be asking too much of the public. And a lot of times it's a bit confusing. I think what hangs in the balance with the road special tax is a lot more funding potentially. So we would have to cover that with the general fund, yeah. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think it'd be better, there's always less confusion, just having it down the road.
At a election to be determined, or do you want to, okay, we'll just pull it off for now.
Yeah.
Agreed.
yeah,
Agreed.
well, maybe next year.
Okay.
But I won't be able to vote on that.
I don't think it's really gonna matter, yeah, you don't want people voting for two tax measures, but you're talking about $1, they voted against it before. Probably better not to have two measures on.
And we could just pull this to a future date, you think, Chuck, or would be good?
Yeah, we're gonna need, I'm looking at what Greg wrote up. Yeah, direction to remove this.
Do we have to bring back a resolution of disintent?
I don't think so, it's just
No.
adoption of a resolution, we're not adopting the resolution.
Okay,
We've already adopted the resolution
yeah, I thought we did.
for the AVA item, so we need to revise that resolution or withdraw it completely.
Well,
Yeah,
it
so-
says,
yeah,
how
so
come, how come the staff direction is asking for adoption of a resolution, calling for it to be placed on the ballot? I think it was just direction to Greg.
So direction, and we'll bring it back.
It was direction to Greg not to bring it back to us for consideration.
At a later date,
Okay, so direction not to
proceed forward
proceed, okay.
at this time. Any members of the public like to comment on this issue? Seeing none, we're gonna move down on to item 5C. This is a presentation by Jim Rooney, County Assessor, regarding the tax roll and changes since last year. Mr. Rooney.
You have a suit and tie on today.
Almost. Jim Rooney, Amador County Assessor. I'm here with Jeff Himmelman. He's the Assistant Assessor.
Can you pull that mic a little closer so the public can hear you?
Is that better?
Yes.
All right. Anyway, we just finished turning over the roll, and it was kind of a tough year from the standpoint of we had a resignation of an appraiser, and we also had some people out on sick leave, but we really buckled down, and I have to give Jeff credit. He worked awfully hard, an awful lot, and we really plowed through a lot of work, got it all done, and we wanted to give you the results of what we have. And all right. So anyway, we the information that we have here is the assessment that we just finished will be reflected in the property tax bills coming out later this year in December and next April. And each year, Prop 13 allows assessments to go up a maximum of 2% in every assessable property that didn't have a change in ownership or new construction. They get that 2% increase this year. So everybody in the county that didn't have something going on is gonna have a 2% increase. And so, this is the big one, the next slide.
Is that, can I ask you a question
Yeah,
about that 2%? Is that mandatory that you increase it 2%, or Prop 13 just allows you to increase it 2%?
No, it's mandatory, yeah, and it's the same throughout the state. And that 2% is based on the California Consumer Price Index, the inflation rate. And I've always had a little trouble with that because sometimes the inflation rate can be real high, kind of as it is now, while property values can be rather static, stable. And so they're deciding what property values for assessments are based on inflation rather than property values. However, that's how they do it, and it is mandatory. And this year, the assessed value increase percentage-wise for the 24-25 tax year, it was 3.57%. And that's not a whole lot, but at the same time, it's about what we expected. Things are a little bit on the, how do you say, I don't know if I'd say stagnant, but things aren't going up very, very fast right now, or very much. Jeff and I, we have this conversation about property values. And interest rates are high right now. And we think that people are generally thinking, if I sell right now and buy something new, I'm gonna have to get a new loan at a higher rate. And also they possibly have to be reassessed at a higher rate because of the Prop 13 limitations. So property values, values aren't going up, but people are kind of not selling right now. Anyway, so could you go to the next?
Well, it seems like there's a lot more inventory now than there was, say, 2 years ago. I mean, everything was just like flying off the shelves, so to speak. And now things are, but prices are, they've appreciated quite a bit, so there might be a certain amount of sticker shock.
And it seems like maybe there is more inventory, but people are saying, I'm not going to take that lower price. I'll hold firm.
Right.
It kind of seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's definitely fewer sales.
They're coming down a little bit. They're lowering their
Fewer
prices.
sales, The properties that do transact are selling right around list price, whereas a few years ago, it wasn't uncommon to see them sell for more than they were listed, bidding wars, things like that. That's not happening now in this interest rate environment.
All right, and this next slide, it's a little bit hard to see. I'll try to explain it, but this is the assessments very specific to the cities and the unincorporated areas. In Ione, the last few years, assessments have gone up 15%, 13%. This year is just under 6 at 5.97%. It seems like inventory in Ione has kind of been filled out. There's not as many homes being built. Sutter Creek, about 4.5%, as well as Jackson, 4%. So in Plymouth, nearly 5%. So it's pretty stable. The unincorporated areas of the county is where the lowest amount of growth is happening, assessment-wise, just under 3%.
I think you probably have an insurance factor weighing in that.
Yeah, and there's an uncertainty about it. If someone is thinking, I'm gonna buy a home in upcountry, am I gonna be affected by insurance? We've been keeping an eye on that. People have told us our insurance rates are going up or we're being canceled.
I hear it a lot.
Yes, and they'll say, are you gonna adjust our assessment? And I said, well, we are going to keep an eye on the market. If the market indicates that values have changed and gone down, we will do the adjustment. But we haven't really seen a decrease. We've seen no more increases.
I think you're seeing, the cost to build a new house anymore is astronomical.
Yeah.
And also you're seeing people trying to get out of cities, I think, that are, they're coming up here with a lot of money and they want to get out, and they're willing to spend it to get out.
Sure, yeah. On the bottom line there, it shows what percentage of assessments are in each city and in unincorporated area. Last year, Ione passed Jackson. Jackson was the largest assessed city in the county. Now Ione is. They're still relatively close at 10.75 and 10.01%. Sutter Creek's at about 6.6%. Plymouth, 2.73. The unincorporated area is nearly 70% still. So that's the largest assessment we have. All right. can you go to the next one? You know, as we're waiting for that, you know, there's another line, gosh. Hey, you can stay with that for a moment. Do what you have to do. I did want to tell you that the low of assessments, you know, when the real estate market pretty much, we call it crashed, when it was very depressed, it was about 2012 was the low point. And since then, from the low point, the assessments have gone up over 175%. Sutter Creek was 60%. Jackson, 54%. Plymouth, 160%. And overall in the county, from the low in 2012 to present day, the assessments are up about 58%. So that's over a 12-year period. And you know, that's pretty substantial. Should we wait for you? I'll go to the next one.
We're not seeing anything. Go to the PowerPoint.
All right. Well, when that comes back up, I'm gonna, you know, we, as we were doing these assessments, this was kind of an odd year. There's a very informative slide. I hope you can get to it. And it's the number of residences in each jurisdiction. And it really shows that how slow this county is growing. And I'm going to tell you that Ione last year had about 42 new homes built, 42 additional homes. And Plymouth had only 5 new homes. Amador City has been pretty static, but Jackson actually has 1 less home this year than last year.
Wow. I mean, 1 less home built or 1 less home?
1 less home in their jurisdiction, 1 less residence.
Wow.
They tear it down?
Yeah, and you know, sometimes there's a calamity, you know, a fire or something. Sutter Creek has the same number of homes this year as last year. And overall in the county, there are, the unincorporated area actually had 13 additional homes. But in the county as a whole, there were about 49 new homes last year. And you know, that's not a whole lot. We just thought, you know, there's not much going on with home building. And a lot of it is cost.
How many new homes?
In the county as a whole, 49.
49. Well, you just said Ione had 42 and Plymouth had 25.
I think he's just referring to the unincorporated
Oh, yeah,
region.
the unincorporated areas
Yeah.
had 9. Let's see, Ione, 18. Oh, Ione had 32, not 42, sorry.
32, okay.
So, anyway, there's, you know, new homes, there's not too many. And, you know, what's kind of interesting is primary residences has actually gone down by 14. There's actually fewer people saying that they live here as their primary residence. And I think some of that is people from outside the area buy their second home here. They don't call it their primary residence. So the county I just found that kind of interesting, that there's fewer residences. Okay, so there you are. You know, we're dealing with Prop 19 too. And Prop 19 is when somebody from outside the area sells their home where they were, buys in Amador County, and they bring their old Prop 13 value to our county. And initially, Jeff and I, we thought this was going to really be rather devastating. But in reality, in 2022, the excluded assessments were $13 million. That is, people bought in this county for a certain amount, and the difference between that and the assessed value that they brought with them totaled $13 $1.5 million less than if they'd have been paying their full assessment as they came into the county. That was for 2022. 2023 was $10 million. And what that turns out to be is essentially a loss of property tax revenue, approximately $43,000 in 2022, and in 2023, $32,000, when you calculate the percent that the county gets. You know, it doesn't seem like a whole lot of money overall when you're looking at these big numbers. However, there's something interesting that was happening at the same time, and that is that there were a number of people in this county who wanted to do a transfer between parents and child that used to be excluded from reassessment, but now they're being reassessed on those. So the county actually gained some money by people not in the county not being allowed to transfer property to from parent to child and be excluded from assessments. And earlier today, Jeff and I had the conversation. So essentially, that's bringing kind of money into the county, but it's on the back of the locals. It's the local in Ione or in Amador Pines or Sutter Creek or Jackson who was trying to give property to a child or to a parent who was no longer allowed to be excluded from that reassessment. So they were reassessed. While somebody from the Bay Area who sold for $1.5 million, bought for $600,000, brings their $200,000 assessment with them, they benefit while having that net gain of $800,000 to $1.1 million. Very unfair. However, that's the way it is. That's the law.
Sounds like politics at work.
Yeah. Yeah. There's still attempts to bring back, they called it Prop 58, the parent-to-child transfer, but it's not working. I mean, their attempts aren't successful. Okay, we have one more slide. Any other questions on any of this? Okay.
Sorry. Overall, besides the unfairness, there wasn't a large effect to our property tax that comes into the county.
It's probably close to a wash. Or...
I mean, you said, what, 43,022 and 32,023, not percentage-wise, not a huge amount of money.
Not a lot, yeah. We're gonna try to get some of that back, but the state wants us to do a calculation that said, how much money was brought in based on what people didn't do. People didn't file for the Prop 19 because they didn't qualify. So how many were those that didn't apply for this, and how much would it have brought in? That's the calculation that they're trying to make. And it's at times I shake my head and say, okay, I give up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I quit. So anyway, all right, the last, I find this rather interesting. This has to do with Prop 13 and property tax revenue. And there's three important numbers to remember. And that is, these are numbers from 1980 to 2023. In 1980, the population of California was 23 million, and in 1923, about 39 million. That's a 65% increase. The inflation index based on the California CPI is 290%. Property tax revenues throughout the state have increased over 1,000%. So when...
Wow, that's something.
Yeah, property tax, Prop 13 sometimes is criticized as limiting revenues to counties. However, property tax revenues have far outpaced inflation and population. And it's just, I find it an interesting number I thought I'd share. And then, Jeff, did you have anything to add? Okay. Any questions, concerns?
I'd have one question. What would a house cost in 1980 compared to what it costs today?
Oh, well, I'd say 1980 were probably,
Yeah, the homeowner's exemption, it was the $7,000. That was enacted, I think, in 1977, and it was to be about 10% of the average home price. So I would guess in 1980,
80 grand?
80 grand, you know, right
So
around.
what'd that same house bring today?
Which neighborhood? That's the
Just roughly, probably what,
450.
400,000?
yeah, 450, between 4 and 500,000.
So probably, so inflation was like 300% and houses went up 500%, but it's still not 1,000%.
Well, those houses back then, maybe the assessed value on them was $35,000. You know, because they'd owned it since 1968 or something.
I was looking at how,
And that's, but the other thing too is that's the value in Amador County. This is a statewide thing, you know, an $80,000 house in the peninsula in the Bay Area.
yeah, it wouldn't matter, let's look at the ratio of inflation,
that's how
houses.
The numbers I had there, I have there, they're really not disputable. They're state numbers, you know.
Those very interesting numbers.
Yeah.
But there's still people out there that want to get rid of Prop 13. And that for the life of me, I don't understand it because that would destroy homeownership in our state.
Well, Prop 13, what it really protects is the elderly population who can count on their assessment being within 2% of the prior year. Where the thing that bothers me about assessments are generally the youngest people are paying the highest assessments. The younger couple, they just bought for $550. They're the ones starting out with the lower paying jobs. The elderly couple, generally more established, more income, has an older assessed value, which is lower. And I have a problem with that.
Only problem the elderly couple has, that's about time they hit the golden years and things start breaking.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
And that may outpace the lack of income from the younger people.
Things aren't particularly fair, but what is? Yeah. So, anyway, that's the information we have. If you have any questions or concerns. And by the way, I do want to say, this was a tough year. We did have a resignation. We had a couple people out on leave. And Jeff really did a nice job. Really worked hard. I appreciate it. So.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Like no Zoomer questions? No?
Not at this time.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Rooney and Jeff. At this time,
Move to approve confidential, or move to approve minutes, sorry, minutes.
June 25th, 2024 minutes. You got a motion by Forster?
Second.
Second by Axe. Roll call.
Thank you, Chairman Onetto.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Crew.
Aye.
Supervisor Axe.
Aye.
Supervisor Forster.
Aye.
Supervisor Brown.
Carries unanimous.
Aye.
Well, at this time, we're going to take a break and come back at our 10:30 public hearing at 10:30. At this time, we're going to our public hearing. This is consideration of Planning Commission's recommendation to approve proposed amendments to county's winery ordinances and noise ordinances to establish regulations for future wineries, tasting rooms, and event locations in the A, agricultural, and R1A, single-family residential zoning districts, and future enrollments into the Ag exclusive agricultural Williamson Act zoning districts. Mr. Beatty.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Beatty with the Planning Department. So this is a continuation from our meeting, from your last meeting when we went over the primary changes to the winery ordinances, and then the board recommended some changes which we've included on all those that show up in there. All that additional information shows up highlighted in your packet from the staff report and the ordinances from the prior meeting. I do have a graphic that I can put back up on the wall there. This is the same one we looked at 2 weeks ago. But let me go over let's go over the primary changes, and then we can talk about the additional changes that were recommended from the last.
Do we have that in our packet?
I believe it's labeled as page 44 in your packet.
All right, thank you. Got it.
Got it. Thanks. So as I said last time, this is a year and a half worth of work between your land use committee, local winery industry, the AVA, and the public to develop changes to the winery ordinance to reduce impacts going forward. At the same time, land use committee didn't want to do anything that impacted anyone who currently had their wine grower's license, had made that investment based on what they wanted to do with that property in the future. So what we have, and the reason why the ordinance is kind of wordy, is you have two tracks. So anybody who has their current wine grower license or is in production now at a premises will be allowed to follow the rules that are in place today. So and anyone who has property enrolled in a Williamson Act contract will follow those same rules also, even if that use doesn't exist today, because the county is contractually obligated to allow that use in perpetuity. And the only way to change that is for the county and the property owner to agree to amend the contract. And we don't expect that's going to happen. So the new rules would apply only to newly licensed facilities or newly enrolled Williamson Act contracts. So we have two sets of regulations that kind of parallel each other, but it prevents any existing facility from becoming a non-conforming use and would allow them to expand under the existing rules that are on the books right now. So right now, wineries, tasting rooms, and event centers can have an unlimited number of events per year with up to 125 people in attendance. Then an additional 12 events with up to 450 people in attendance, as long as they don't have more than 4 of those in a given month. And indoor or outdoor amplified music is limited to 10 p.m. So that stays on the books for everybody who's currently enrolled in the Williamson Act or who currently has a licensed and bonded winery. So going forward, the future tasting room events are based on, the limitation on the events are based on setback and location on a preferred road. Those roads being any state route, Latrobe Road, Lower Ridge Road, Shenandoah School Road, Steiner Road, and Willow Creek Road. So if the facility has a less than a 200-foot setback and is not located on one of those preferred roads, the base uses are tasting room hours from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. 7 days a week, can participate in the AVA sanctioned events. They can have 12 wine club events per year with up to 200 attendees daily, and 6 social events with up to 60 attendees daily. If the facility has a greater than 200-foot setback and is located on a preferred road, then they can have all those base uses plus an additional 12 events per year with up to 200 attendees. And then if the setback is 400 feet or greater, they're allowed the base, and they're located, or excuse me, access from a preferred road. Then in addition to the base uses, they can have 12 additional social events per year with up to 250 attendees, and 12 more social events per year with up to 300 attendees. So the primary changes between last week and this week are we've added back in the preferred road language for those roads that were identified. Be happy to answer any questions.
continued the public hearing last week or 2 weeks ago, so we just have to open it again, correct?
Yes, it was just, it was continued, so you did not close it.
Do we even have to open it?
I would think so, yeah.
We do? Okay.
So I guess it's time to open the public hearing. Any members of the public like to address the board on this item? Do we have any Zoomers?
No, not at this time.
You know, I had a question for you, Chuck. I talked to some people, they were concerned about, they had a project ongoing, if it would be affected by this. It's down off of, be the Vicini's, down off of Carbondale. Are they in the Williamson Act there?
That property at the corner of Carbondale and Highway 16 is in the Williamson Act. Yes, that's one of their older contracts.
Okay. That'd probably.
So they're grandfathered.
So they
already.
would be, yeah, right, they're grandfathered.
The hops look good now, too. Nice and full.
They're growing fast in spite of the heat. Surprises.
There's some things like the heat. And I've got some walnut trees I planted, and they're going to grow like this year. They just blew up. I mean, yeah. Well, looks like no members of the public want to comment, so this time looking for motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Second.
Chairman Oneto,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Crew,
Aye.
Supervisor Axe,
Aye.
Supervisor Forster,
Aye.
Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Looks like carries unanimous. Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendments to the county's winery ordinance and noise ordinance for the agriculture R1A and AG exclusive. And is there a resolution that goes along with this as well for approval? Okay, so just move to approve the new wine ordinance for those particular land use designations
With the findings.
with the findings. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Axe, second by Forster. Roll call.
Thank you, Chairman Oneto,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Crew,
Aye.
Supervisor Axe,
Aye.
Supervisor Forster,
Aye.
and Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Okay, so that carries unanimous. Well, looks like we are adjourned. So our next meeting will be July 23rd, 2024, at 9:00 a.m. Thank you.